during the Moorish Caliphate. Yes. So let's go in. Let's go check it out. So we are here at the Moorish Castle. It was built in the 10th century. The Moorish Castle in Sintra, Portugal is one of the oldest buildings in the country with a deep, dark history. What I learned about the persecuted, tortured, and enslaved Moors blew my mind. Out of all my visits to historical sites, this one left me with the most eerie feeling. The Moors ruled Portugal from 711 until 1249, when King Alfonso III of Portugal captured Faro, the last Muslim stronghold in Algarve. Most Muslims who once called this home were killed, fled the territory, or converted to Christianity. The Moors that converted to Christianity and remained in Iberia were known as Moriscos. But by 1496, King Manuel I decided to expel all Jews and Muslims from Portugal, turning the kingdom exclusively Christian. The Moors still remained within the Iberian Peninsula during this time in the southern regions of what is now Spain. It was the people that remained within the kingdom that made me think twice about the history I learned about slavery and the beginnings of the colonization of the Americas during my exploration of the Moorish Castle. Throughout the entire town of Sintra, you can just feel the presence of the ancestors. The black imagery is everywhere. I felt the need to pray to God for protection every time I entered a new location in this city. What did they do to the Moors of this city? They tortured them, of course, and that's why I felt darkness around every corner. They have the Beester Mansion with the nickname the House of Witches, and the lore is that a demon lives there. But there is no mention of this at the palace's entrance. Right up the street from the Beester Mansion resides Quinto de Relagio, which was owned by Manuel Pinto de Fonseca. He was one of the most profitable enslavers of all time, and he sold enslaved people right in front of this mansion. And a little further up the road lies another palace, Quinta de Regalaria. It holds an ominous initiation well where you are reborn. Up the hill around the Moorish castle, there's a dark cathedral, the Santa Eufemia. The grounds include a well which people used to visit during the pilgrimage, hoping the water would heal them. There were dark escape routes. I didn't want to find out what was below. I got chills up my spine with every turn, but I was here to learn about the Moors, so I kept on. The Moors that remained in Sintra after Alfonso III conquered the area were treated as second-class citizens, terrorized in every way. Their treatment reflects almost exactly what the enslaved people in America experienced, and there's a reason for that. Many of these families were sold into slavery in America as prisoners of war. Some did travel to America as free people looking for a better way of life away from the tyrannical rule of the Catholic Church, of the Spanish and the Portuguese people, but many were not able to escape their grasp. As much of this history remains hidden, nearly erased by rebuilding and additions, like the walls you see here in the bottom entrance of the castle, this tombstone and church, all modern additions after the Christian Reconquista, which they were working on reinforcing here. Much of the newer structures were made solely of limestone. So limestone is hard to maintain, hence why they're working on it now. Limestone is very popular in Portugal. It is easy to recognize limestone due to the color. So here you can see some of the old structure. This is limestone, popular in many old structures all across the European world as well as in America or the European world. You know, they brought this to America as the Europeans. We see it in DC. The White House is built with limestone, and many of the Capitol buildings in DC. The Moors used limestone as well. These walls consist of a blend of tapia, a type of cement made of crushed pottery and pumice, mixed with limestone and or marble chips, held together with lime and red sand mortar. While this is one of the oldest structures still standing from the Moorish-controlled Iberia, Moorish influences can be seen all over Portugal still to this day. And the darkness is felt all over the country as well, because of the torture that persisted here for centuries. The torture of the Moors is documented. We see this in the Cantigas de Santa Maria and the Vidal Mayor, which offer us a glimpse into what the Moors endured. The poems depict the Moors as black, often refers to them as devils, evil people without morals and deserving of death in the name of religion. The Cantiga Santa Maria 264 states, in order to destroy the sect of Jews and the devil known as Moors. CSM 28 refers to the Moorish leader, Prince Maslama ibn Abd al-Malik, as a savage and bloodthirsty, a thick-lipped sultan, a pagan, an insolent Moor who planned to slaughter all the inhabitants of the city. CSM 192 shows a Christian man with his Moorish slave disputing about faith. The Moor is forced by his Christian enslaver to lie in a secluded cave where the devil torments him. Then the Virgin Mary appears to show him the way so he might not burn hell's stinking fire, scaring the devil away and chastising the captive for being a Moor. The Moor confesses his error to his enslaver and is baptized, and thereafter leads a good life, worshiping the Virgin. All of this black history, hidden behind Portugal's walls, hidden in the stone, hidden in plain sight. These are the Islamic houses, so this is where the Moors would have lived back during the Moorish Caliphate. The Moors were tortured by the Catholic rulers for centuries throughout Europe, from the Battle of Granada to the rebellion of the Alpujarras, to the expulsion of the Moriscos in 1609, and in 1749, the Muslim Slave Revolt in Malta. The 1749 Muslim slave revolt on the island of Malta was a significant event in history, and I never learned about it until I came to Portugal. At the time, Malta was under the rule of the Order of the Knights of St. John. They were also known as the Hospitaller, which was controlled by the Vatican. Yup, the Catholic Church. It was common for the knights under the Catholic Church to keep Muslim slaves captured from conflicts with the Ottoman Empire and North African states. In fact, in Lagos, Portugal, where the first major slave market thrived, dealt in Arab and Moorish slaves before sub-Saharan Africans became the main commodity. They captured Muslim sailors, soldiers, and civilians during raids and naval battles, turning them into slaves. These slaves were used for various labor tasks, such as rowing galleys, building fortifications, and serving the knights. Their appearances were diverse, ranging from lighter-skinned individuals from the Balkans and Turkey to darker-skinned individuals from North Africa and sub-Saharan regions, including modern-day Somalia, Ethiopia, and West African regions like the Mali Empire, which was renowned for its wealth and scholarship, and had extensive interactions with North African and Mediterranean societies. The trans-Saharan and Indian Ocean slave trades brought people from these regions into the broader Islamic world, and some of them eventually ended up in the Mediterranean region through various channels, including piracy, trade, and warfare. The Malta Revolt was orchestrated by a group of Muslim slaves who sought to overthrow their captors and take control of the island. Some of the conspirators included Mustafa Pasha of Rhodes, who was the leader of the group, and Kara Mehmed, who was given the name Giovanni Battista. He was from Tripoli, Libya, but of Ethiopian origin. Kara means black in Turkish, and in the documents, he was described as a Negro and a Moor. The conspirators planned to seize weapons, assassinate the Grand Master of the order, Manuel Pinto de Fonseca, not to be confused with the one mentioned earlier, and open the gates for an Ottoman fleet to invade. Unfortunately, the plot was uncovered before it could be executed due to a Jewish man by the name of Giuseppe Cohen overhearing the plan as the men discussed in his tavern. Cohen was compensated and received a home for revealing the potential revolt. After the 1749 revolt was foiled, the consequences for the Muslim slaves involved were severe. They were quickly arrested and subjected to harsh punishments as a deterrent to future revolts. Many of the leaders and participants were executed, often by hanging or other brutal methods, to make an example out of them. Others faced severe punishments such as flogging, prolonged imprisonment, or forced labor under the even harsher conditions. Mustafa Pasha Rhodes was released due to his diplomatic ties with France and escorted back to Constantinople on a French ship. As for Kara Mehmed, fate wasn't as kind. On July 23rd, 1749, at the age of 26, Mehmed was executed, strangled, beheaded, and burned. He left behind his pregnant wife, Francesca, who died weeks later of grief, and their newborn daughter, Anna Maria, who disappeared from history. These enslaved Moors constantly revolted against Christians, which led to many deportations of the enslaved. Some of these individuals found themselves in the Americas and even the United States. Salim the Algerian was sold in Louisiana, which I covered here, and Robert Purvis's Moroccan grandmother sold in South Carolina, among many others, which led to the Sundry Act of 1790. The Sundry Act of 1790 in South Carolina highlighted the presence of Muslims of North African descent in early America. The petitioners, Francis, Daniel, Hammond, and Samuel, petitioned on behalf of themselves and their wives, Fatima, Flora, Sarah, and Clorinda. They were Moroccan Muslims who were enslaved in South Carolina. They petitioned the state legislature for recognition of their status as Moors and subjects of the Moroccan Empire, which had a treaty of peace and friendship with the United States. Their petition argued that as Moroccan subjects, they should not be enslaved under the laws of South Carolina. The state legislature agreed and passed the Sundry Act, which effectively granted them their freedom by recognizing their distinct status as Moroccan subjects rather than as enslaved Africans. This incident is significant because it underscores the presence and agency of Muslims in early American history. It also highlights the complexities of identity and legal status in early United States, where individuals could sometimes leverage international treaties and diplomatic relationships to challenge their enslavement. My visit to the Moorish Castle showed me that my Black American history is a complex journey, intertwined and intricately connected to the broader world. Every part of my ancestors lives within me, and as I discover new pathways, I awaken further. Thank you for watching American Hidden History, and stay tuned for more. Made it to the top of the Moorish Castle.